Welcome back. Counterculture. I know it's just gonna get some like old English going in there.
Some Scottish.
There we
Yes,
go.
there we go. Or Irish even. Yes, go.
Counterculture.
Counterculture.
I got a story. Simplistic in nature, great consequences. Want to know if there's any practical application. You may say no. This could be the shortest counterculture ever, or it could be a good counterculture.
Would that be counterculture unto itself?
It would be counterculture of what
It would be
I do.
counterculture to counterculture for us to be short.
No.
Oh, I am such on the cutting edge.
And our producer left the room, and there'd be nobody to shut off the record, and it would just be this dead space. We'd have to tell jokes and
Crickets.
So,
right.
In 2 Kings chapter 2, there is a story about Elisha. Elisha gets anointed to become the successor of Elijah. He starts off his ministry, and like all good pastoral ordinations or all good big moments, right? There is a parade of people just waiting to say, oh, we can't wait. You're going to be the greatest pastor ever. You're going to be the greatest missionary. You're going to be the greatest. There is a parade for Elisha, right? So Elisha moves along. I want to start in verse 23, right? It says this.
I knew you were going there.
He went up from Bethel, right? And while he was going up on the way, some small boys came out of the city and jeered at him, saying, "Go up, you bald head! Go up, you bald head!" Now, I don't really know where their parents are, right? But I can imagine this scene in your church on a Sunday, right? You're walking down the aisle after just speaking a great message, right? You brought it, and just the Holy Spirit's working. And all of a sudden, a group of boys comes to the end of the pews, and they start making fun of Pastor Mark as he's leaving.
That happens, by the way.
Right.
They joke with me.
Elisha has just been anointed as the next...
I wouldn't call it jeering, though. They're joking, not jeering. But yes, these guys are jeering.
These kids, where are their parents? They're jeering. This is not the rah-rah parade. Hey, Elisha, good luck. Hey, you're going to be the greatest prophet. They make fun of him, right? They jeer him.
Yep.
Then it says, he turned around, and when he saw them, he forgave them, told them that he loved them, told them that they were just misguided young people, told them that they needed better parents and that really the fault was on their parents. My version actually says the following. He turned when he saw them, and he cursed them in the name of the Lord. He did not say, "It's okay, little boy." He'd rub their head and make everything okay. He looked at them and he cursed them. And the following happened. And 2 she-bears, because mama bears are way meaner than male bears, came out of the woods and tore 42 of the boys. And then he went on his way to Mount Carmel, and from there he returned to Samaria. He just walks on. This is a crazy story.
I love this story.
This is the story where people look at the Old Testament and they go, "Yeah, this can't be real. This can't be right?"
The question is, why is it in here?
That's exactly my question. So here's the deal, Mark. My question.
We need Bob, because Bob preached on this. Bob Benson preached on this, and I can't remember now what he said. How the take he took on it.
Then we're going to invite Bob to have a take on this.
A take on this.
Yeah.
Right.
But when the next time that somebody jeers you and makes fun of you, as a anointed minister of the gospel, is it okay for you to turn around them and give them a little smirk and curse them and wait for the bears to come out and annihilate them?
Shortest counterculture that we've ever had. Here's how I have told this, because I've alluded this story.
Can't wait.
I said, young people,
Yep.
Don't mess with your pastor. That's the message here. Because if I wanted to, I would call down curses on you and call out bears to eat you alive. Here's what gets me. 42 of them?
42?
Where were their parents? Exactly, Andrew. That's very good. What are these guys, now, other than we do know this. When they were traveling, because this is what happened with Jesus when he was about 12, they couldn't find him. You say, how in the world do his parents not know where he's at? Well, because the men traveled together, the women traveled together, and the kids traveled together. And so these 42 probably were like on their way home from Sunday school or something.
Could have been from school.
And the parents had no clue they were doing. Like, hey, let's go pick on Baldy.
Yeah. Yep. No clue.
Now, what about what we just talked about in last week's counterculture when we were talking about command to teach these things? I think he's trying to teach the other kids a lesson. It's like that incorrigible sheep that will get out all the time and show the other sheep how to get out.
That's right.
You got to kill it because it won't learn, or you break its leg so it can't do it. Okay, so or you got to kill it and do away with it because it'll lead the rest of the flock astray.
So is it possible that we could take this story, we could look at it, we could say, listen, we need to be careful about who we're making fun of and teasing, right? It's so funny because we know people who they will say mean, kind of crude, goofy things and immediately follow it up with, I'm just kidding. But they've already said the mean thing.
Which
right?
we hear scripture that says, do not just say I'm joking.
Don't do it.
Yeah,
right?
don't
be that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have these people who, sometimes we're making fun of people. We like to do it in the political realm. We like to do it with pastors and teachers that we don't agree with, right? Like we just make fun of people. And there ought to be a little bit of seriousness as to who we're making fun of, shouldn't there be?
Mm-hmm.
And if that person is an anointed of God, the Bible's really clear of that. Don't do that, right? You better be careful about who you're making fun of, the comments that you're saying, the things that you're talking about, right? Be careful because we don't know who God's using, how God's using them, right? There could be consequences.
Mm-hmm. There will be. Mm-hmm. I mean, there will be. Yeah. It's a fascinating story, and I've always wondered why in the world was it there. But now thinking about this also from a cultural perspective of the kids, they would have known. Mm-hmm. They would have known not to do this. So it tells you they're unsupervised. So then we could argue that being a situation. We could also just argue the kids, and we could say the other side of the coin is, Elisha, really? Are you that fragile, dude? Baldy?
You couldn't handle.
I've been called worse. I've been called worse by adults, for crying out loud, not by children. But here's the thing. Here's what gets me. Here's another thing. Another path we're taking down here. What do Sunday school teachers and adults always tell kids? Now, you go apologize. You shouldn't talk to them. Boy, that's where Christians. But then what will they do but walk out of that Sunday school class and not talk to someone that they have an issue with in church? And as soon as pastor says, you need to go apologize and not be like that, pastor's on his way out the door because pastor shouldn't be telling me this. Well, why are we telling children that? Oh, there's a good one for you. Okay, what's wrong? It is about maybe the way we treat each other. We joke and stuff here a little bit, and we know each other well enough. Did they know Elijah well enough? Here's this funny story. This just happened this last Easter. A little guy in my church, he and I we got a good rapport. He's 7 years old. He comes up, he says, serious as he can be, Pastor, how old will I be when you die? And I said, his great grandfather said, I said, well, if I live to be as old as your grandfather over there, I said, you got 30 years. You'll be 37. He had no idea how old 37 was. He goes, will I be able to take over the church then? No, he did not mean it. He was not jeering. This little guy wants to be the pastor, but he's also asked me one day, he goes, where do you get that big belly at, Pastor? Here's the funny thing. 7 years old, he meant it. My Bible says some utes, or as we would say up in northern Wisconsin, the utes. So these are not little 7-year-olds speaking innocently. These guys are jeering. No, they know what they're doing, and they're not just picking on the pastor. That's not joking. This is jeering.
Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing, and why they're doing it, and
probably because he commanded and taught those things that they didn't want to be taught.
So, do we just talked about this the last time? Paul looks at Timothy, says, "Don't let people look down on you because you're right? Because you're young." Mm-hmm. Are there times where we look and say, like, no, I don't have to take that, right? That I can ask God, hey, deal with this. Hey, God, do something about this, right? Now, again, here's the problem. It's not always instantaneous, right? It's not always a curse them and 2 bears come out of nowhere and just destroy 42.
Well, and you said they were mama bears, so maybe it's a metaphor that their mothers came out and showed them right from wrong.
Tore them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever the case, these 42 learned a lesson, did they not?
They did. Well, no, they learned a lesson, but so did the others who were watching.
Yeah.
It's like the other story I have issue with sometimes that I try to figure out. Ananias and Sapphira.
Just going to go there and say that.
Really?
Looks very familiar.
So no wonder people live in this fear that, if I don't do it exactly right, God's going to pinch my head off. Because the way that story is told, is that really what happened? I mean, really, how many other people are in trouble then because they haven't paid their tithe?
Well, again, the idea in Ananias and Sapphira is that both of them were given the opportunity. Is this really what you gave? Mm-hmm. And both of them looked and said, yes. They doubled down on misrepresenting. Right? That's a hard thing, right? Like, does God always give us an out? Does he give us an opportunity? Like, this looks like there was no correction here, according to the story. Elisha didn't turn to the boys and go, would you really like to take that back now?
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't you...
I'm going to give you one chance.
Yeah.
One chance.
But again, they were making fun of his appearance, his physical appearance. They weren't making fun of his theology.
Can you imagine George Whitfield if they would have said, hey, Google eyes? He was not an attractive person from what we understand.
No.
So, I mean,
he may have had the power to do that.
Yeah.
Smith Wigglesworth could have done that.
He could have.
All right.
We can't wiggle our way out of this one.
This is true. Ended up not being the shortest counterculture ever.
It was not.
Great story. Look it up. Second Kings.
And tell us in the comments.
Why tell us
your thoughts.
Why did Elisha get away with cursing some
and none of you
children
make fun of Andrew and me because we could call curses down on you and call out bears to maul you. We won't this time.
Because the way we judge is the way we're going to be judged. And I live out in the country where there are bears.
There are bears. I've had them in my backyard.
Thank you.
You got it. We're good here.
All right, we'll see you next time. Counterculture.
Grace and peace.